Swampert fires off Hydro Cannon on the charge attack priority, forcing the opponent's final protection. We're already debuffed, so we're going to put all our hopes and dreams on Piloswine. The opponent pivots out into the snail. They might be hitting for super effective, but Piloswine has access to high horsepower, double super effective. Get that slug off my screen. Back out comes Cradily, and this game is signed, sealed, and delivered. GG's, and thanks for playing. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see by my on-screen ELO, last week did not go particularly well whatsoever. I tried numerous spice in the Ultra League and got absolutely clapped. I often joke about being retired from this game, and I honestly thought I might hang it up because it was horrendous. I was starting to think I've actually forgotten how to play this game. Today is League Rotation Day. We've got two choices, the Open Master League, which is a big fat no thank you from me, or the Great League Sunshine Cup. I guess we're going to go down that path. I had a quick look on PvPoke, and apparently Clodsire, Cradily, and Gligar will be reigning supreme. You can either use the meta in this game, or you better be able to beat it. So we're going to be busting out Piloswine that claps all three of them top meta threats. The developers who put together these limited metas for Pokemon Go have about as much creativity as a garden gnome. They are very limited. This cup in particular only allows 4 typings, one of which is fire. I expect 2 fire types to be fairly common in the meta, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death, aka Talonflame, and of course the ever annoying Fire Snail, aka Magcargo. So if you're going to run an ice type, you sure as hell better be running some fire type counters. With that in mind, I'm opting for a double ground strategy with Shadow Flygon operating on the save switch, and the former GOAT, the one and only Shadow Swampert, in the closer position. I played 22 battles with this team, and I was able to gain 150 ELO. You're going to see 20 of them battles today, and if you're wondering why I'm not showing all 22, well, my editing app only allows 20 battles, so that kind of is where we're at. A lot of my losses today were actually winnable. So the top tip for the day is do as I say and not as I do, and you'd have even more success running this very powerful team. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, our target has been acquired. We lead Piloswine into Gligar, the opponent save switch into Shadow Swampert. I fire off the Icicle Spear, looking for some chipping action, then I'm able to snipe with the Dragon Tail from Flygon, and just like that, we're off to a very quick 1-0 start. In the next battle, things are not looking so great as we lead into the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death. We save switch into Flygon, baiting out Furret. Flygon's going to fire off the Dragon Claw on what looks like to be a charge attack priority, forcing the first protection of the game. I'm happy with my shield advantage. I'm just going to save on my shields for Swampert, and hope Swampert up a Protect Shield can sweep the back line. If you've been watching this channel since the very early days, you'll remember I always used to say, with Swampert, no grass, no problem. Piloswine re-enters the arena, fires off the Icicle Spear on the charge attack priority, leaving Furret on fractional HP. This Swift won't be lethal. I'm going to instantly pivot into Swampert and look to get a 1 mud shot running start. Swampert hits the field of play, gets that 1 mud shot running start, and out comes Blaziken. Unfortunately, running counter, and these counters are shredding through my HP. Swampert obliged to shield up the incoming Blaze Kick, despite it being resisted. We then farm up to the double Hydro Cannon. You know the drill. The first one will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. The second will be moving Blaziken from the field of play. Swampert chomping at the bit, saying, feed me that fire, Bird of Death. It re-enters the arena. Gonna fire off a charge move. Swampert still that shield to hide behind. Gonna shield up the incoming fly. Race to the next Hydro Cannon, and Swampert is gonna sweep the back line. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Chesnaught in the lead position. The opponent save switch into Shadow Vic. Here, I should have thrown instantly, as the opponent is able to reset me, firing off the charge move as soon as they got it. But I was actually thinking I might be able to fully powder snow farm this thing down. That clearly looks like it isn't possible. So we are going to fire off the Icicle Sphere, force the Protect Shield, and then send out Flygon. This Leaf Blade is going to do a lot, but will be survivable. Leaf Blade out. That does hurt, but we're able to maintain alignment. If Chesnaught does return, it won't get much farm. The opponent actually send out Cradily. This now starts to get somewhat problematic. I'm going to fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw goes unshielded. Piloswine has got an energy lead. I think Piloswine should carry me home. Piloswine hits the field of play. Going to be investing in a Protect Shield on what's likely a Rock Tomb. The opponent actually full sends the Grass Knot, which I wasn't expecting. Piloswine farms up, looks to sacrifice Swampert to the Pokegod. Swampert carried it home last time, and this time it's just used as the third shield. The opponent sends back out Chesnaught, and they're actually running Smackdown. I was going to say, what the hell does this team do against the Fire type? Clearly, Chesnaught is their Fire type counter. Piloswine able to Powder Snow farm down the remainder of the team, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Swampert in the lead position. I say switch into Flygon, and disaster strikes as out comes Abomasnow. Flygon double weak to ice, and the opponent can just one shield and fully Powder Snow farm us down. This Abomasnow energy is going to be universally good into the remainder of my team. If they want to go straight energy ball, they can cleanly one-shot either Pokemon. We send out Piloswine, look to call the bait. We're successfully able to call the bait, and just like that, we might find ourselves back in the game. I'm going to invest a Protect Shield. On the next Weather Ball, the opponent then pivots back out into their own Swampert. Shadow on Shadow Crime. I'm going to fire off the Icicle Spear. Icicle Spear goes unshielded. Piloswine looks at the Powder Snow farm down. Unfortunately, unable to get it. I'm going to invest a Protect Shield, block up the Hydro Cannon. We're then able to Powder Snow farm down. If Abomasnow re-enters the arena, we're going to farm up, make the catch of the Weather Ball onto Swampert, hoping we put him in a range where we can Mudshot farm him down. But unfortunately, that is very, very optimistic. You're going to see Swampert is going to fall short. It's now going to be the low health Piloswine versus the world, and the opponent's got a shield to hide behind. They send out the Fire Snail, one Incinerate, cooks my Piloswine to a crisp, and that one ends in catastrophic defeat. Heading into the next battle, time to run it back. This time we see the regular Swampert in the lead position. The opponent gives me a free Dragon Tail, which I'm certainly not going to complain about. We're going to shield up the Hydro Cannon, and out comes Ferrothorn. On this moveset, I am fully wall, but a Stone Edge would do more than the Dragon Claw, so I'm going to full send the Stone Edge. A Stone Edge forces my Protect Shield back. The opponent doesn't over farm by much, so I can elect to let Flygon go down. I'm going to be able to outpace with Piloswine, hoping to move this Ferrothorn from the field of play. Well, actually, if I'm being honest, forcing the final Protect Shield would probably be best case scenario. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. We fire off the Icicle Sphere, forcing the opponent a final Protect Shield. I'm going to say, Piloswine, thank you very much for your contribution. And in Swampert, I believe. I'm going to look to throw 7 Mud Shots, throw the Hydro Cannon on the charge attack priority. The opponent pivots back out into their own Swampert. I'm going to overfarm, fire off the Hydro Cannon, removing the opposing Swampert from the field of play. Back out comes Ferrothorn. I could have thrown the Hydro Cannon, denying the energy. You know what's a better play? One shield, fully Mudshot farm down, and leave with all the energy in the world. Out comes Cradily, and we all know how this one's going to end. Cradily's a rock, grass type, and takes neutral from water. The first Hydro Cannon does around half their health. We overfarm just because I can, and the second one is going to be all she wrote with Swampert once again on cleanup duty. Heading into the next battle. We see Quagsire in the lead position. It's a no thank you essay switch into Flygon, and once again the opponent throws the move as soon as they got it. As switch takes a turn, you should actually throw 6 Mud Shots there, and that would be good timing. I'm going to invest a Protect Shield. I throw it a suboptimal timing, but that is intentional. If I go for good timing of 3 Dragon Tails, or even 1 Dragon Tail, I think 1 Dragon Tail and the Dragon Claw doesn't knock out, and if I look for 3, the opponent would outpace to the next charge move. After throwing 2 Dragon Tails and the Dragon Claw, we're able to remove Quagsire from the field of play, and out comes Cradily. I full send the Stone Edge, guaranteeing my shield back or doing big damage. We're able to force our Protect Shield back. We find ourselves in the 1-to-1 shield. I send out Piloswine, throw 1 Powder Snow, anticipate the opponent throwing the Rock Tomb, and we're able to catch on Swampert. We're then going to farm up, throw 6 Mud Shots, trap the opponent into the charge attack priority. They do not win. Shout out the GOAT, Home Slice Henry, as always, stealing his quotes. As my Swampert's already debuffed and getting absolutely deleted by these Bullet Seeds in Piloswine, I believe. The opponent sends out the Fire Snail, hitting for super effective with the Incinerator at Piloswine with double super effective, high horsepower coverage. That silly slug straight in and straight out. Back out comes Cradily. Piloswine able to outpace to the Icicle Sphere. They don't even bubble, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death in the lead position. I'm going to throw 1 Powder Snow, transfer the Incinerate onto Flygon, and see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent say switches into Furret. Flygon going to fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw won't be lethal, but the opponent had a commanding lead, so they're going to invest in protection and look to shore up this mid-game matchup. The opponent fires off the Trailblaze, removing Flygon from the field of play, and also vamping up their attack. I'm going to send out Piloswine. I've got 1 residual Powder Snow, but I'm going to overfarm by 1 over the Icicle Sphere. Once again, playing to CMP, maximising my farm. Icicle Sphere removes them from the field of play. I pivot into Swampert. Once again, 1 Powder Snow, the transfer of the Incinerate. Always trying to get a little energy lead here and there. Out comes Lurantis. I remember this game well. After landing this Sludge, my win con is going to be just trying to shield and attempting to Mudshot farm down this grass type. Is it possible? I'm not entirely sure, but that is my only win con. We end up playing to CMP, which is a huge mistake. We send back out Piloswine, hoping to reach a double Icicle Spear, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. These Incinerates absolutely melt in Piloswine, and unfortunately that one does end in defeat. Potentially, if I would have been able to Mudshot farm down, we could have double Hydro Cannon that Firebird of Death, but unfortunately in the heat of the moment I didn't make the best decision. In the next battle, my opponent clearly thinks they're getting algorithmed as they are so ABA weak to this pile of swines. Gligar, horrendous into Piloswine, Cradily, running acid, also pretty piss poor, excuse the French. I obtain myself a shield advantage, pivot into Flygon that can tank any one move. It would have tanked the resisted Rock Tomb, objectively better than a Grass Knot, but it is what it is. Flygon able to withstand the damage, fire off the Dragon Claw, leaving Cradily on fractional HP. If the opponent thought Piloswine was bad, that Gligar has nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. We're going to send out Swampert, get the Mudshot farm down, come on trainer, show us your third. The opponent like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to concede the match. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next one. Another Gligar in the lead position. This opponent save switches into Swampert. As switch takes a turn, we are able to outpace to the Icicle Spear. Icicle Spear, force the Protect Shield, and we pivot into Flygon. The opponent is going to throw on alignment. I'm going to say thank you very much. I've been getting clapped recently. I'll take all the mistakes from my opponent and get myself some free low. We fire off one Dragon Tail and the Dragon Claw. The opponent desperate to flip switch. And you know what? I don't need switch advantage trainer. You can have it. I'm going to send up my Pile of Swines and look for the Powdersnow farm down. Why is this thing called Pile of Swines? Or it's actually called Piloswine. It's definitely a singular swine. We are getting so distracted. Back out comes Gligar. Thankfully, in the heat of the battle, I was actually counting. We throw on charge attack priority, moving Gligar from the field of play. Out comes the snail, of course. I could pivot into Swampert, but you know what's more satisfying? That high horsepower boom. Get that slug off my screen. We pivot into our own Swampert, Mudshot farm down the opposing Swampert, and take that game. In the next battle, another Gligar in the lead position. Keep them coming. Jamie Finn is the algorithm confirmed. Once again, we see a Cradily save switch. These battles were played super early. I'm not entirely sure who put this team out. It must have been in someone's top team video. But if you see a lot of Gligar and Cradily on the same team, get yourself on the Piloswine hype train. It is like a free win every single time. We're going to play this matchup the same as the last time we saw this team composition. Elect to let Flygon go down, send out Swampert for an energy lead. We then got a little bit of energy on Piloswine, energy of Swampert, and a 2-to-1 shield advantage. We send out Swampert, get the Mudshot farm down, and can you guess what's going to happen? Yet another opponent runs for the hills. Heading into the next battle, we see Abomasnow in the lead position. The Shadow as well. This thing is terrifying, and I was absolutely crapping my pants. Piloswine was the last team's kryptonite, and Abomasnow is certainly this team's kryptonite. The opponent actually falls in an energy ball as well. Holy moly, I didn't see that one coming, but I'm glad I invested a Protect Shield. We fire off the Icicle Spear. The opponent once again farm up to the energy ball. This is likely a weather ball, but I'm just going to 2-shield my lead. Oh my days, they actually double shielded, then pivot out into the snail. Trainer, you caught an Icicle Spear, I promise. Just kidding. Get that snail off my screen. Out comes Quagsire. Quagsire going to be greeted with the Icicle Spear. We then pivot into Flygon, but the damage is already done. Potentially Abomasnow could sweep this team. Let's see how it plays out. We attempt to Dragon Tail farm down. I intentionally don't throw here, as I don't want to give Abomasnow any more farm. We're going to send out Piloswine and just tap like an absolute lunatic and hope to Powdersnow farm down everything. Back out comes Abomasnow. Piloswine able to Powdersnow farm down. We simultaneous KO and Swampert gets a well-deserved rest on the bench. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, another Gligar in the lead position and another Cradily save switch. Come on, post down below who put this team out. This is kind of funny. This is like 3 times in 5 battles. These are not edited. They're exactly as I played it. Apparently the 2300 range, whatever trench I'm playing in right now. Everyone's loving this content creator. I'm 50-50. I'm thinking it's either Danot or a Jonkers at the moment. I don't really know, and I don't really care, to be honest. I'm just taking these 3 wins. Once again, the same as always. Give the opponent switch advantage. They're probably thinking, yes, we keep Gligar far away from that pile of swines, but we've also got a Swampert. This is where you're going to see a very surprising thing. I thought Shadow on Shadow Crime. This has got a one-shot right. No, they survive on like invisible HP. I can't even see that HP bar, but whatever at this point. We're going to invest the Protect Shield. Look for the Mud Shot farm down. The opponent very smartly, not wanting to see the farm down, pivot out into Furret. Furret greeted with the Hydro Cannon. We then pivot into Piloswine. Here the Trailblaze is only super effective, not double super effective. So with that in mind, we're able to tank one. We fire off the Icicle Spear. Icicle Spear will put them into Hydro Cannon range. But I've now got to be careful of the opponent trying to make a catch back on that invisible HP Gligar. So when I want to fire off the Charge Move, of course, I'm going to pause, wait for the Sucker Punch animation to start. The opponent pivots out as soon as I get the Charge Move. We're able to Mud Shot farm down and take that game. In the next battle, another Gligar in the lead position. The opponent say switch into their own Shadow Piloswine. I haven't really got a great answer for this, especially behind an energy. So I guess I'm just going to opt to stay in. And worst case scenario, realign Swampert with Gligar later on. As I said in the intro, I think I misplaced some battles here. So as I'm ahead in energy, I can always win this in the 2-shield scenario. And I think that's the scenario I should definitely play out. I'm actually going to elect to let Piloswine go down. I think that's a huge mistake. I haven't really got any fast move pressure into this thing or whatsoever. The opponent's also overfarmed. I mean, I'm going to burn the final protection on this incoming Icicle Sphere. One would be survivable, but of course I don't know what's in the back yet. I'm not sure if Swampert beats Piloswine in CMP either, so I'm just going to throw here. One before the opponent receives the energy for the next Icicle Sphere. Down goes Piloswine, out comes Golurk. The opponent tries to make the Hydro Cannon catch onto Gligar, and here I make a huge mistake. The second mistake in this battle, last time we saw the opponent survived on fractional HP, and guess what? Deja vu. The opponent once again survived on fractional HP, and I've thrown the game. This was one of the most frustrating battles I've had all season. Such a winnable game, but I've just potatoed my way through it. I managed to find my lose con. The opponent trapped me into the CMP tie, dynamic punched me to the face, and a well-deserved victory from then, and a very, very poorly played game from me. Heading into the next battle, we see Cradily in the lead position. I'm going to throw 7 Powder Snows, throw the Icicle Sphere on the CMP tie. Icicle Sphere forced to protect, so there's likely a Rock Tomb. But I am going to shield on the off chance they Grass Knot. They do Rock Tomb, but even debuffed, I'm fairly confident the next Icicle Sphere will be removing them from the field and play. Once again, we farm up, throwing on CMP. Icicle Sphere forces the opponent's final protection. At this point, I'm just going to elect to let Piloswine go down. But if they Rock Tomb, I'm going to pivot out. They do Rock Tomb, we make the pivot into Flygon. Flygon, going to waste no time, go straight for the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw, of course, easily going to knock out. Down goes Cradily. The opponent has no shield tied behind and send out Gligar. Gligar going to go straight for the Aerial Ace. I imagine Aerial Ace is survivable, right? Aerial Ace, pretty crap move. I always call Aerial Ace, but actually far more than I was expecting. We just about hang on, fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw does decent damage. Out comes the Quagman. We've got Swampert with a shield to hide behind and Piloswine as a potential sack swap. The opponent recognise they cannot win the match and they are going to concede. Heading into the next battle, this time we see the Quagman in the lead position. We say switch into Flygon. As this one's the regular Quagsire, we are going to tank the Aqua Tail. You can see just how bloody glassy this thing is, man. Ouch. The opponent then tried to snipe with Flygon. Unable to do so, we fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw forces the Protect Shield. This now sets up a very nice scenario where I can just send out Piloswine, shield once, fully Powder Snow farm down, and get a huge energy lead. So if Quagsire returns, we're in a much more favourable position. Piloswine does get that Powder Snow farm down. I imagine Quagsire will re-enter the arena. Back out comes Quagsire. We're going to fire off the Icicle Sphere just before the opponent receives the energy for the Aqua Tail. Icicle Sphere able to land. We then pivot out into Swampert, catch the Aqua Tail where it only hits for neutral. Mr. Opponent, you need to pivot. You don't get there. The opponent stays in because they've got the annoying snail in the back. They recognise Swampert is going to absolutely eat him alive, and the opponent is going to concede the match. In the next battle, we find ourselves in the mirror lead. We both farm up a boatload of energy. We end up throwing at a really random time, and it becomes apparent that I've got the lower attack. I'm going to shield at the Icicle Sphere. I'm actually going to throw my next Icicle Sphere instantly, anticipating the opponent over farming. Thankfully, we're able to get off the next Icicle Sphere, and at this point, I'm just going to have to let Piloswine go down, because if I play the 2 shield out, as I lose CMP, I cannot win this matchup. When I played this battle, of course, I had no idea I was facing a mirror team. If I knew this was a mirror team, I wouldn't have shielded this move. I would have saved my final shield for Flygon, as I think Flygon with a shield advantage would be able to clean up. The opponent sends out their own Flygon. Shadow Swampert doesn't one-shot the regular Flygon, which is kind of heartbreaking. The opponent fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw gets me incredibly low. We're going to get one Dragon Tail running start, but with no shield to hide behind and tanking one Dragon Claw, I'm very quickly going to find myself in Hydro Cannon range. Not one Dragon Claw, I should say one Dragon Tail. You kind of get what I mean. There's the Swampert. I attempt to make the catch, but the opponent recognises they don't need to throw as Dragon Claw isn't threatening to them yet. They hold their energy, Mud Shot farm me down, throw the Hydro Cannon and take that game. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we see the Shadow Quagman in the lead position. I think how I play this, if it's a regular, tank the Aqua Tail. If it's the Shadow, I'm going to invest the Protect Shield. The opponent fire off the Aqua Tail, then pivot into Ferrothorn. Once again, we're going to force in the Stone Edge. Both moves are resisted, but Stone Edge will do more. Stone Edge still did pretty pathetic damage, if I'm being brutally honest. We find ourselves in a very problematic position. We haven't got a switch, and we're down a Protect Shield. I'm going to send back out Piloswine, fire off the Icicle Spear. I guess best case scenario is this force a Protect Shield, and we roll with Swampert, looking to 1v3. I used to sweep so many teams with Shadow Swampert back when Hydro Cannon alternated between 5 Mud Shots and 4. However, now it's straight 5s. Let's see if Swampert still has that closing power. The opponent pivots back out into the Quagman. I overfarm, fire off the Hydro Cannon, removing them from the field of play. Swampert knocks out the first Pokemon. Out comes Cradily. Swampert so far ahead in energy. Gonna release the Hydro Cannon before we potentially get debuffed. I'm thinking, should I call this move? I actually don't think Ferrothorn reached another charge move. We're going to invest a Protect Shield, blocking up the Grass Knot. Swampert going to farm up to the double Hydro Cannon. The opponent now receiving the energy for the next Grass Knot. So I've got a decision to make. Do they make a catch? Why the hell would you not shield that? I was going to say, do they make a catch or do they throw the move instantly? I guess we'll never know. I've got no idea why the opponent didn't shield that, but I'm not complaining. In the next battle, we see Lurantis in the lead position. My opponent banks the Leaf Blade for the road, then make the pivot into Furret. Furret going to be greeted with the Icicle Spear. Icicle Spear forces the Protect Shield, and I pivot out into Flygon. Flygon able to reach the Dragon Claw on the CMP tie. While Dragon Claw won't be lethal, it will leave the opponent incredibly low. I don't actually need switch advantage. We've already done some powder so damage to that Lurantis. We've already seen it from a previous battle that Sludge does around 90%, so worst case scenario, Swampert can knock that thing out. Unfortunately, we're unable to maintain alignment, but that's neither here nor there. We're happy with our shield advantage. We send out Piloswine. Piloswine able to powder snow farm down, and to my surprise, Lurantis re-enters the arena. Despite the opponent very easily in Sludge range, if they're going to send this thing back out, they must be very weak to ice in the back. So invest the Protect Shield, throw the Icicle Sphere. Icicle Sphere forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent then makes a very nice catch, catching the next Icicle Sphere onto the Quagman. We then pivot out into Swampert. Swampert can easily tank an Aqua Tail. We're going to tank this move, over farm, fire off the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon, of course, will be removing the Quagman from the field of play. We've still got a shield intact. We're very close to the Sludge. The opponent has got a Leaf Blade bank, but they're obviously trying to double up. They don't get there. Swampert fires off the Sludge, and we take that game. GG's for that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Quagsire in the lead position, and no thank for me, I say switch into Flygon. This opponent throws up much better timing, 6 Mud Shots, then the charge move, only giving me 1 free turn. As their Shadow, I'm going to invest a Protect Shield. Out comes Gligar. I think here I should throw the Dragon Claw. While Stone Edge will do more, it's going to leave me less farm. If you see a Shadow Gligar counter swap, I think Stone Edge is the correct player that would be enough to knock out. Unfortunately, Stone Edge isn't lethal, and it just leaves me minimal farm on Piloswine, which is never a great scenario. If we Dragon Clawed him, yes, we might have tanked an Aerial Ace, but would have got all the energy in the world, or at least enough to outpace whatever they've got in the back. Back out comes Quagsire. We attempt to catch the Aqua Tail onto Swamp, but catch attempt unsuccessful, and out comes the world's biggest Cradily. Holy man, this thing is enormous. In this battle, I've got yet more indecision. I'm thinking, should have put it all on Piloswine? But I don't think 6 Powder Stones knocked this thing out, and the opponent still got 2 shields intact. I'm going to fire off the Hydro Cannon. Unfortunately, that's a CMP tie. I'm not doubled up, so this Grass Knot will remove me from the field of play. The opponent's never ever letting me farm down. They pivot back out into the Quagman. You're going to see Shadow and Shadow Crime. Aqua Tail almost picks up the 1-hit KO. I'm going to be forced to try and Powder Snow farm down everything. We get nowhere near there, and that one does end in heartbreaking defeat. Heading into the next battle, we've got a chance at some redemption with another Shadow Quagman in the lead position. You can see as I gain ELO, opponents are throwing at much better timing, 6 Mud Shots and the Aqua Tail. This time we're answered by Spinder, a very cool pick. Despite not being a Shadow, I've had the XLs for this thing. It's probably something I'd invest in. I think this little bear looks super funny just dancing away or spinning round and round. Despite Spinder being level 50, at least it needs to be level 50 to get the max map. I didn't actually check the CP. You can see it's very glassy. Flygon able to put in so much work in the mid-game matchup. If you're wondering why I'm checking my recording app, it's because my phone dropped below 5%. I had to quickly run over and grab my charger like an absolute potato. Back out comes the Quagman. We're able to fire off the Icicle Spear on the CMP tie. The opponent is now on a 5 cycle, so I can match this Protect Shield, fire off the next Icicle Sphere and look to remove them from the field of play. The opponent smartly make the catch, recognising they would lose CMP. We fire off the first Icicle Sphere. I'm just more than happy to stay in, fire off the next Icicle Sphere, and the opponent this time does play to CMP. This game's now over. Icicle Sphere removes them from the field of play. We pivot into Swampert. The opponent is going to have to dump all their energy, firing off back-to-back Aqua Tail to remove Swampert from the field of play. And at this point, they're just in Powder Snow farm down range. Aqua Tail picks up the knockout, but Piloswine going to be able to Powder Snow farm down, and we take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up. My first look at the Great League Sunshine Cup. I was able to go, I believe, 16-6, something like that. We gained like 150 ELO. I think it could have been a lot more positive. I think at least 3 or 4 of them losses were definitely user error. So if you're looking for a strong team, look no further. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.